ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.
Sweet success for the Super Kings. They finally put an end to a 4-match losing streak, and have they effectively put an end to the Knight Riders' title defence as well. They're still not out of it mathematically, KKR, but Ajinkya Rahane side need more than just luck and results going their way if they are to make the playoffs now. That was a game of contrasting styles, of almost two generations playing together. In Urvil Patel and Brevis on one side and Dhoni, Dube and Jadeja on the other. We unpack it all on Nexa Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Matt Roller and Tom Moody. And if you heard a big thud while I was giving my intro, it's because Abhinav Mukund has just stubbed his toe. which sums up this game in many ways. It was an odd game. One
clumsy.
Clumsy. Yeah, I would like you to add the adjective. So let's go there, because CSK have chased 180 plus. But how would you sum up that game, Tom?
I think it's a game that reflects both teams' position at the moment in this tournament, and they're lacking confidence, lacking form of key players, and they stumbled their way through it. We heard Manish Pandey say at the halfway mark that he felt that they were 10 runs short. I think that was a modest 10. I think it's probably 20 runs short of where they should have been. And, you know, CSK have had a rare poor year in their history, and they are, you know, in pieces really, to the point that they are exploring their options looking forward into the future, and they've cobbled together some sort of outcome which is going to put a smile on all their fans' faces.
The future, CSK fans would think, and that's all they can look at now, looks bright. With Dewald Brevis and Urvil Patel, I should mention them in the same breath. Without the two of them, this looks like a chase that is again impossible.
So you do need power, right?
Slow applause, point well made.
You do need power in the power play. Clearly, it takes the pressure off your middle order. Even if you lose a couple of wickets, you have to be 60, 65 at least in this modern. At least in the IPL, you've got to be 60 plus. You can choose to play like Saj Sudarshan and Shubman Gill and play an artistic 82 of 6 overs, or you can just smash every single ball and try and do what you can. In the process, you lose a couple of wickets, But got to maximize the power play, and I think it's good additions to the CSK setup. I think they've also come to terms to the fact that they lack the power.
Yeah, the fact that Urvil Patel plays as soon as he is available to play tells us something. They did get 62 in the power play. They did lose a couple of wickets, perhaps a couple more as well. 62 for 5.
Yeah, it was the equal best power play in terms of runs this season, but it was obviously their worst in terms of wickets lost. It's such a bizarre power play score, isn't it? And yeah, just a bizarre innings as well. I mean, they needed 53 or 47 after Brevis got out and sort of stumbled across the line. But I suppose at that point they were also 6 wickets down and worried about what batting depth was to come. So yeah, very strange innings. I like to suggest
they were fully under control after the Brevis innings, and MS knew exactly what he was doing.
I think there were some oddities as well. I mean, they'd hit 8 sixes in the power play in 11 games before tonight, and they hit 5 tonight, 4 of which were from Urvil Patel. And the other fact about Urvil that shows how weird a season it's been for CSK, 22nd player that they've used this season, which is their second most ever in an IPL season.
Oof, so many numbers.
So players number 20, 21, 22 have got the most sixes this season.
Brevis, Matre, Urvil. Well, Stephen Fleming, who you have been a great adversary of in your time, both on the field and in the dugout, Tom, did give a grumpy interview by his own admission that we're not the team that hits sixes. We try to play a different way. We hit boundaries, etc., etc. I think he's come to add context to those words later in the season with how the season has gone. But is this really the big story of the day, that CSK, what they didn't get right at the auction, and you spoke about the auction on our pre-show, through the course of the season, through replacements and injured players, they have looked to what they need to fix right for next season?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're trying to explore options and discover, you know, some talent that can play that elevated game that we're talking about. But, you know, I think when it comes to their recruitment looking forward, you can guarantee that some of the overseas players are going to be in a hot seat because they need to find, outside of what's already been secured, they need to find those impactful players in the top 6.
What did you most enjoy about Urvil Patel?
6-hitting. It's a 6-hitting game. I love the fact that this young man comes in, no cricket around anywhere. So to actually stay relevant, to be in touch, to be practicing, to come in and play 11 balls and hit 4 sixes. I think he'll learn. He'll definitely learn to probably switch another gear. But I feel it's really simple. CSK hit 13 sixes tonight.
And they won.
Yeah.
And they won.
Yeah.
The thing with Urvil that really stood out to me, and this is obviously the first time I've seen him bat, but his stability at the crease. You know, one of the key things to power hitting is having a stable base. And for a young player to come in his first game under such pressure, a big venue, to stay true to that, his very first 6, I think, was a second ball. And to be able to execute like that, to me, tells a hell of a lot that this guy's got a future, because there's a lot of things that are in place. He just needs to learn the art of batsmanship now in this format of the game.
It's not like we needed this season necessarily, but has this season been the biggest wake-up call or the sounding alarm? Priyansh, Suryavanshi, Aniket, Patel, Mhatre, they've got to have scouts. They've got to scout in the country. They've got to start making academies and look in the country a lot more. If CSK have found 2 that look like lock-ins for next season without getting carried away, is that a lesson for the league?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I speak to a lot of the overseas players that play in this tournament, and it's by far the best T20 tournament in the world, you know, by a long stretch, they are blown away with the talent. And that's not the playing 11 talent they're talking about. They're talking about the depth that's in the squad. They cannot believe how well these guys bat in the nets. They are absolutely stunned. And that is a very common theme, and it has been for a long time. So it doesn't surprise me where we see these players coming out of everywhere to be able to take their opportunity, because, you know, it is a bit of a golden road, isn't it? Once, if you can get on it, you're away. And there's, what's there? You mentioned 4 or 5 players there.
I'm just talking about those in their first season.
Yeah, and they're away.
His name didn't even come up in the auction. That's just adding to the fact that, well, there's so much talent out there, it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think if Urvil's a top 2 or top 3 batter, there is a traditionalist thinking at the auction table of, we've got that one overseas batter and that one senior India batter. Punjab is a rarity into uncapped Indian batters. Do you think we will see a shift in the years to come, the immediate future, of teams actually saying, you know what, let's throw in a couple of uncapped batters at the top? Now we're seeing a generational shift of Indian batters?
I don't think so, Raunak. It's
It's a nice idea. Yeah.
It's a nice idea, but I just think this has come because CSK were desperate.
Yeah.
You don't sit at the auction table and think Ayush Mhatre and Urvil Patel are opening for Chennai Super Kings. The same case with Punjab Kings, because Punjab went looking for Conway, they went looking for Rachin, they toyed with the idea of maybe Stoinis could open the batting. Ponting arrived here and saw the talent that was Priyansh Arya. And Prabh Simran Singh's had his best IPL season. So I don't think teams are still comfortable with the idea of having either an uncapped opening pair or have so it has to be at least international standard. So Ruturaj comes back, this team suddenly starts looking good with Brevis in the middle.
Okay, Dewald Brevis, let's go straight there. His game seems to have developed, and why don't you just tell us what Brevis has been doing since the time that we thought he was just the next AB de Villiers, the next big thing, to being released and not even picked up at the auction?
He had a really, really good domestic season just gone in South Africa. And I think actually it's probably worked out really well for him how the past 6 months or so have gone. I think going unsold might have, to some extent, be a bit of a wake-up call for a young player who's obviously achieved so much at a young age, getting picked very early. And he's had that opportunity to play all formats of domestic cricket back home for, I think, the Titans. And he's come in as a replacement player on the back of strong domestic form that he might have missed those games if he was sat on the bench at the start of the season. So he's come in red hot, and I was so surprised that it was his first IPL 50 tonight, because it feels like we've heard so much about him over the past 3 years or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic ball striking, particularly that 30 run over off Vaibhav, and I think that encapsulated the mindset that a lot of these young players have of not only going to hit a couple of boundaries to start the over, I'm going to really dominate this over and take it for 30 and change the game completely.
That's the over that's changed this game?
Very much so. Very much so. And isn't it interesting with Brevis how, as you said, didn't get picked up in the auction, comes in as a replacement player, and this could be one of Chennai's best signings of the decade, because we saw back when Chris Gale came in as a replacement player for Dirk Nannis for RCB. End of story. You know, everyone was shocked that Gale didn't get picked up, and that was because of clash of fixtures, I think, at the time. Maybe West Indies cricket, I think, had some cricket on, and so there was some sort of cloud over his availability. I think that may have been the story. But anyway, he, you know, had a stellar career for RCB. Yes, they didn't win anything, but from an individual's performance point of view, he dominated the IPL. I'm not saying Brevis is going to be Chris Gale, but what I'm going to say is Brevis is an exceptionally talented player, and he's just starting to realise that talent. The one little blip that he will overcome is just his cricket smarts, and tonight was a great example of that. Got to 50 brilliantly, took the game on, hit that one particular over for 30, which changed the face of the game. But then it was the last over from Chakravarti.
Yeah.
He just needed to be smart. He just needed to bat that through, knock the ball into gaps, low risk options, get one a ball. If there was a boundary there to take it, but don't go looking for it, because he had other bowlers he could take down in a heartbeat.
Sure. Looks the finished product though now?
I love the point that he's just made. I absolutely agree, because coaches around the world are going to think, okay, who's going to come in at 5? I feel it's a very tough position in T20 cricket to come in at 5, try and assess the situation and do whatever is required. It's a coach's dream to have someone at 5 come in and do that and get a 25 ball 52. And I think I said this to you when we were talking off air, because we were talking baby AB, and Tristan Stubbs was, Tristan Stubbs. But Tristan Stubbs went somewhere because of his ability to play spin, the ability to hit sixes. He was retained, and suddenly Brevis was out of the picture. Now I love the fact that Brevis is caught up. He's got incredible talent, but I think it's not about the talent, it's about how he's developed batsmanship and cricketing smarts, and that's exactly why he'll be really wanted around the world if he's going to stick to this number 5 position.
Mark Boucher was with us earlier in the season, and who has spent a lot of time with Dewald Brevis, was actually saying that this was a great thing for him to not get picked up at the auction, and to also, while he was working closely with him, ask him to work on his red ball game, to just tighten up on a few areas. He's got all the abilities. So he actually played a fair bit of first-class cricket, I believe, for the Titans. And he was surprised when he came in for CSK. He said perhaps he's aiming for the small auction next year. But CSK is a hard offer to refuse. So there we go, Dewald Brevis.
And he's still so young as well, it's easy to forget.
22, just last week.
Exactly, given that he's been around the IPL for 2-3 years now. Easy to forget that he's 22.
All right, brilliant. Dewald Brevis, check. Urvil Patel, check. Ayush Matre, check. It looks like retentions will be pretty easy next year for CSK. I wonder if the releases are just as easy. But let's try and also make sense of just the last couple of things before we move to the KKR discussion, which is a very big discussion here with the points dropped here. They did weird things as well, CSK. Ashwin came in at the time that he did. So he's convinced both RR and CSK of this. But, I mean, firstly, what did you make of it? Was it the right thing? Can you explain why it happened?
I think they've had enough of trying out a specialist batter. Rather have Ashwin bowl 3 overs at that point, and Ashwin gives us some output at number 4, rather than we've gone 11 games with Deepak Hooda, Rahul Tripathi, Vijay Shankar had 1 good innings, and
so he's actually competing for that spot now.
Exactly, and I think it makes more sense to do that, because you extend your batting order so that MS Dhoni walks in at 8 and he's still around for you to finish the game.
Okay.
So you're sort of maximizing both your impact player and the fact that Ashwin can give you overs and maybe possibly a few runs.
Sorry, I don't like it.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, no, I just don't like it. It does not make sense to me. And it didn't make sense to me with Rajasthan. when he was there, being promoted in various different situations. You've got specialist batters and they're employed to do the heavy lifting when it comes to the batting. Ashwin is a good player, don't get me wrong, he's a good batter, but he's not a specialist batsman that, can take the game to the... You're rolling the dice with him, basically. You're hoping it's going to come off. And I'd rather that hope of the 10 balls that he chews up or the 15 balls that he chews up. Tonight, I think it was only 7 balls, but give that hope to a specialist batter to get established at the crease to play a match-winning innings, because Ashwin's not going to be not out at the end to see the team home.
I mean, if you get those batters in a little bit early and they have that, then Ashwin can always come in and do what was needed towards the end, where you had Kamboj hitting the winning runs. But anyway, I'm glad Ashwin's carried this with him at 2 franchises now. Otherwise, I was going really hard at Rajasthan
He's obviously
Royals.
very convincing around the breakfast table.
Great skills. Dube, can we try and understand what Dube is made of this season? He's played quite a few 40s and 50s, some in a losing cause, and even today he was essentially at 6s because MS wasn't or couldn't at one point at a large part of that innings. And yet, it's not finishing the job, it's still not a banging, clean, hitting sort of innings strike rate, but yet essential. Please make sense of Dube.
I'll be fascinated to see whether they keep hold of him based on how he's gone this year, because his role has almost completely changed. He was so destructive against spin in the whole of the last cycle, and he's going at about 110 against spin this season. Similar story tonight, didn't really get the spinners away. Ended up walking in at, I think, number 7, and has almost become a finisher for them. So it's been a very different role. I think maybe teams are planning better against him in terms of spin. Like, I don't think he's faced a single ball of left-arm orthodox this year, where he's faced a lot of good wrist spin and some off-spin as well. And people are sort of hiding it outside and hiding it out of his hitting arc. But then, to be fair to him, he's played the situation well enough in that ultimately, that scenario required was 6.5 and over.
Even today, the strike rate against spin is 74. This was the specialist spin hitter India took to the T20 World Cup in their winning campaign. And Matt talks about his change of position. It looks like he and Jadeja have just swapped things around because we weren't sure who's not working more in their original role.
Love to see why there's been a decline in that spin hitting. Maybe what teams are doing better. I'd love to see a bit more footage of it and try and see if we can get something out of it. But the 2 out of the 3 games that Chennai have won, I think even the Lucknow game where, again, when people remembered Dhoni's innings in the end, he got a 40 there as well, 45, crucial innings. He's won this. Maybe his role's changing. I think they'll hang on to him. CSK like their left-handers, like the lower order, so a little bit, maybe they might just hang on to him.
They've got some ridiculous steel replacement buys at the moment. 30 lakh Matre, 30 lakh Urvil, couple of crore for Brevis, I think, whatever it was.
What's the price at the moment for Dube?
For Shivam Dube, I think he was 11, so I'll just tell you now, Shivam Dube was 12.
Okay.
12 crore. He's only 31, so you can see if he's
I wouldn't be letting him go.
You wouldn't be letting him go. Not in a small auction, at least.
No chance.
He'll be hype. You think he'd go for decent money.
Players like Dube, and all sorts of players can also suffer when the team's suffering, and I think he is a classic case of that. The team has suffered, therefore that ripple goes right through the team, and sometimes your position and your priority in the team is compromised because they're trying to fix other parts of the team, and therefore you're the one that sort of, hang on a sec here, why don't I bat where Ashwin batted? Why didn't he walk in then? The season's gone for CSK. Why wouldn't Dube, a specialist batter that's played for India as a specialist batter in a World Cup, why didn't he walk in at that point? Surely that makes more sense.
Okay. Let's go to the KKR story, the big story here. Defending champions have to win everything. Game, we thought their run-in was a favourable run-in because they're playing CSK, SRH, teams that are already down and out of it. I wonder if we need to start with a strange bowling effort, or we just have to go back to why this strong batting lineup doesn't maximize its resources. Where do you want to start on KKR? This could be the game that has cost them a playoff spot.
Let's go batting again.
Let's go batting.
You could say, given what we've spoken about in terms of the next generation of players that we've seen from CSK, you look at Manish Pandey being 20 off 20 balls, and that feels like that 8-over phase after the power play where they were 42 for 3 feels really, really decisive to me in the outcome of this game because they did not give themselves the best chance to get 200.
Yeah, I thought at that point, I think the thought came to mind when Manish Pandey was on about 18, maybe 1 or 2 runs less than that, just going a tick over a runner ball. That to me was the time to retire him.
Retire him out.
Yep, and bring in Rinku Singh because they had the firepower in the dugout. You know, historically, Manish Pandey's been a good player, but his strike rate is 121, career strike rate. So he's not the one that's going to hit 4 sixes in an over, which can happen at that venue quite easily. Get someone in there that can propel them to 200. Manish Pandey was never going to get them to 200, so you had to make a hard call at that point.
I can see so much sense in that, but I just think this is a reflection of so many KKR stories and games, including the last one where they just scraped over the line. Have they become a team that have just become worried, too afraid to lose? Playing with fear. These are the defending champions with their core very much still intact.
Definitely, because they played an outrageous brand of cricket last year. They weren't much of the middle order weren't required, and that's very different from much of the middle order weren't used. So that's the difference this year because you've got so like Tom mentioned at the halfway stage, Phil Salt is a big miss. Yes, he gave them the explosive start.
Yeah.
But it was always a case of Shreyas using what his resource was. Whether it was Raghuvanshi who came in as impact, sometimes he would go. Venkatesh Iyer would bat at 3 based on the situation.
Russell,
was Shreyas, Russell. Again, it's the same argument, right? At least you've got better options here where if Dube has to bat at 4 for CSK or 5, you give the specialist batter a chance. Rinku can do that job. Give Rinku the opportunity against the left arm spin and left arm wrist spin of Noor.
Or Moeen. CSK used Moeen as a great 8-9 ball impact player or impact hitter.
Last year, Manish was used when the game was almost on the brink of, they were 90 for 7 or something like that against MI. Played a nice, good innings of 40 odd, which is still okay. But today, what's the requirement? It's 71, 70 odd for 3.
What does this tell you about the team?
Well, I don't know what it tells me about the team, but what it tells me is that this team, the players within the team are not playing with the freedom that you'd expect them to.
Yep.
It feels like they're not empowered, and we see that with the various deployments of various batters. We've talked about that. To create a positive team environment where people go out there and play the brand that KKR played last year under Gambhir, it was a real reflection of him and that real fighter in Gambhir. I don't see that sort of clarity with this team this year. It just seems like everyone's looking over their shoulder to a certain extent. Empowerment is very powerful for players. If you empower them and back them, they grow to another level, and I don't see that happening.
I feel like Rahane is an interesting one as well, just in terms of, obviously the leadership component, but also his batting, because if you just look at the aggregate numbers, he's had a good season. But if you break it down and look at the fact that he's scoring so slowly in the middle overs every time, and that's where they do have the opportunity to get players in that aren't therefore getting the opportunity to impact the game, it just feels like his success has almost caused them more problems.
I mean, I think there is still a window to make sure that Rane's innings doesn't become everybody else's innings.
Yeah.
You just throw in one disruptor over there. When they played Powell and Russell together, separate the two. When you're playing Moeen Ali and a Venki Iyer, throw in the left-hander. They just seem to be doing the same thing again and again.
Incredible options, and that's why
so many good options.
Very, very good options, and let's say even Ramandeep Singh, right? He's batted I think 6 times this year.
Yeah, he's had absolutely no impact.
Less than 5 balls, 6 balls. He's a very skilled cricketer.
Oh, yeah.
And I just keep thinking what the teams at the top are doing right. They don't tinker with the fact that, Rahul Tewatia comes in, bats 4 balls, 5 balls for us, yes. That's yes. But we're going to stick with him throughout the season. Shah Rukh Khan, stick with him throughout the season. Naman Dheer, do the same thing.
I mean, if you're so unsure of when to pull a trigger, win the toss and bowl, no?
Yeah.
It was because CSK, I think they batted.
I mean...
Yeah, they're probably playing on the vulnerability of CSK and thinking that they're in more pieces than what they are, and put a total on the board.
I've learned this from you many times. It's sometimes such a dangerous road to take when you start thinking about the opposition's
100%.
weakness as against.
But I'm just looking at the top 4 of KKR. Gabaz, Narayan, Rahane, Raghavanshi. You compare that top 4 with every other team in the tournament, doesn't stack up, does it?
Well, right now, even Matre, Urvil, Brevis, and
Ashwin.
Even that looks stronger.
Would you
Anyway,
have bowled though after winning the toss today? If you were KKR?
I would have had to have seen the conditions, so I'm going to leave a reserve judgment there.
oh, it's diplomat Tom Moody.
Chennai have finally broken that 180 chasing stat.
Yeah, does it apply because they have to chase
I
180?
think it's targets of 180 or more. First time since 2018.
History.
Yeah.
But the toss this year hasn't had the influence it has in previous years, has it?
Yeah.
So, to me, I think doing what they did was fine. Putting runs on the board, putting pressure on a side that's really vulnerable, I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, and to be fair, this has happened to them in chases. So this has happened to them in the Lucknow game, as we brought up. This has been a serial issue there. Rajasthan nearly got them, in deeper trouble in the last game. But anyway, let's take some questions, shall we, very quickly. Ujjwal, good one. Should Moeen have been backed against MS? Should Moeen have been backed against MS and Dube? One more over a spin, second innings?
I was calling for it.
Yeah.
17th over possibly.
It looked like only Narayan and Chakravarti were the ones troubling, at least that pair.
Oh, but then Matt would have been upset. Andre Russell didn't get a ball.
There's that as well. Again, the belated use of Andre Russell, the bowler.
Yeah, I think that, we've obviously focused on the positive side of that huge 30-run over, but the negative side, it was a really poor over from Vaibhav, wasn't it? With 3 consecutive full tosses, I think. Obviously, there was the chance on the rope at long off, but
it's like they were hitting full tosses with a vengeance after the Chinnaswamy. All the CSK batters came prepared to destroy Vaibhav's poor old full tosses. Every Lungi Ngidi and Yash Dayal full toss was crashing into the pads. But anyway, okay, let's take some more. Sri Charan says, why are KKR playing like a team that are scared to lose? Shreyas held that middle order, but his absence is clearly visible. Yep, that's the point we just discussed. Good observation. Let's take a few more. Could this game, as asked SBM, have gone to the final over should this game have gone to the final over after the kind of innings Brevis played? I guess the question is whether Dhoni, Dube almost made it hard after that, or do you understand it given the way they collapsed against Punjab, wasn't it?
yeah, and they didn't have any batting left really after that with Noor and Kamboj coming in.
Yeah, and to be fair, if that ball that Dube got out to went for 6, it would have finished before the final over.
100%.
And that ball, if he had that again, he'd hit it 50 rows back. It was right in the slot, and he just came out of his shot slightly and went straight up the chimney.
I'd go back to your point that if Ashwin walks in after MS is perhaps a little more confident to play a couple of shots.
Yeah, come on, this team's struggling. They got 103 in the reverse fixture. They got 183.
With you. These are significant steps forward. Lawrence John says the jinx is broken. 180 plus chase down. We will definitely see a great team for 2026 with a yellow heart. That's what they say. Hanish and a lot of others. Tom Moody is back. Oh, so happy to see Tom Moody back. We really missed you. Welcome back, Tom. Non-stop love for Tom Moody. This is an excellent observation. Tom Moody looks 1 year older than last year.
Well, that's very polite, thank you. It could be worse.
Unpopular opinion, SRH's downfall began when Moody left the team. That is the pre-show subject for the game on Saturday. So do join us then. All right, there's a lot of Tom Moody love. So Tom, once again, it's good to have you back. This is where the viewers jump in late in the evening. And he's going to be with us right through till the end of the
My
league.
wife's obviously very busy.
Okay, let's see. Triple stroke with a couple of questions saying such young players are coming out. Look at how CSK have picked up on them. And RCB today have picked up Mayank Agarwal for Devdutt Padikkal. Could they also not have gone and picked up some kid and look to retain him next year? It's not a bad question.
They're in very, very different situations though, aren't they? Because RCB are looking towards the playoffs, they're looking towards who can we potentially plug in as a number 3 who might be a starter straight away, come into the business end of an IPL who's got experience versus a team who have nothing to play for other than the recruitment for future seasons. So I don't think it's quite a like-for-like scenario.
Okay. Dhruv Jindal says, yes, talk about Mayank replacing DDP. We've just covered that now. Ujjwal again asks, Matt, can you just confirm Rahane's stats post-power play now this season?
Yeah.
Overall, big picture, it's been a problem, like you've
Yeah,
said.
middle overs this season is 111 strike rate. It was 187 in the power play and 111 middle overs, which I think tells a big story of KKR season to me.
Makes more sense that he opens then.
Yeah, agreed. I think that is actually a template they might go with next year, is have that keeper in the middle order as a finisher.
Find a number 6 keeper or number 7 keeper.
Yeah, find someone somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many options we've given today that today was the day, and we discussed on the mid-show with Venki Iyer injured. You had the option to seamlessly just push everybody up. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't know, I don't want to say this, but I think the conservative brand starts from the top. Like, you've got to have a team that says, we are playing good, positive cricket. It's okay if we lose, but we'll at least go there and play the best version of ourselves.
And
now they're not.
I'm bringing one point up which many panels previously brought up, that it's not like there's anything against Gurbaz, but why they've lost faith with Quinton de Kock as one player who plays that way, unless he's injured, which I don't know of. But anyway, it's not looking good. More comments on Ramandeep. He can become what Rahul Tewatia has become for GT if he just is used a little more. Ramandeep is a gun talent. He's really been wasted this year. This is a very different Rahane as captain. We see a much more tactically acute captain in the test team, but he seems to have missed a few tricks here.
Again, on the finishers and on all of these young cricketers, right? It's like you've got 25, 30 guys trying to get into the Indian T20 side. Ramandeep gets into it. So if Raman's so good to get into the India T20 side, he should be batting more than 8-10 balls in a T20 game.
All right, just wrapping more things up. There's a lot of big picture questions. We've still got that cracking fixture of CSK RR. Let's save all the big picture stuff for that day. Dhruv Jetwani says, loved Abhinav Mukund's analysis today. Some love for you as well, Abhi. Pechan Kaun is asking, please ask Abhinav where he bought his shoes. They look very nice.
You can have them. Thank you.
Okay.
Abhi, you keep offering freebies on the show. You're offering CSK RR tickets
Oh
the
yeah,
other day.
that's still there. CSK RR.
No one snapped them up yet.
Manoj Prabhakar is asking, Mr. Prabhakar is here. No discussion on Rohit Sharma. In fact, Anil Kumble has given a nice, wonderful chat. It's on ESPN Cricket Info. Please go have a look over there. And RGK says, Tom, do you have a recommendation for CSK coach in case Flem decides not to continue? Well, I can tell you, his CV's already been updated, hasn't it, Tom?
We're not going down that path. Mr. Fleming's there for life. He's got an unbelievable record. One of the best T20 coaches out there.
All right.
We need Moody too.
We need Tom here. I mean, if Tom does go there, then I'll just do a trade and get Stephen Fleming here. I'm not sure. Pretty sure I could make that work. Anyway, brilliant. That is well done to CSK. It's tough time for the franchise, but they managed to get the better of KKR and KKR fans. I mean, for what we saw last team from this team, which we were all high praise for, it's just been hard to understand. Time for our rapid fire review. Abhi and Matt know how this works. Tom, you of course know how this works, I'm sure. You're not rusty at all. All right, why don't you kick us off, Tom? Brevis taking Vaibhav down in the 11th over. Has that been the biggest moment of this match?
Absolutely. Key moment, big moment for him personally, but also for CSK. A significant moment when it comes to actually getting the outcome they wanted.
Abhinav, batting tactics or bowling tactics? What cost KKR more today?
Batting tactics.
Have Chennai found, Matt, another name for the next season in Urval Patel?
I think he's nailed on as a retention, even on the basis of 11 balls evidence from tonight.
I'll throw this back to you, Abhi. You like it? CSK 13 sixes versus KKR 8 sixes. Have Chennai finally understood the importance of power hitting in this format?
Of course, yes. Definitely, yes.
Tom, 2 must-win games coming up. Is it time for KKR to rethink their batting order?
It might be too late for them to rethink unless they're thinking for next year. Because I think, as you said earlier, mathematically, they're going to struggle.
And on that note, is the season effectively done? While they're not out mathematically, is the season effectively done for the defending champions? Tom?
Yeah, I think they're going to find it very hard from this point.
Abhi?
Yes.
Matt?
Yeah, I think they're done, sadly.
Shame that, because they will remain where they are now, and they needed these 2 points with that odd point that they picked up in the washout against Punjab, a team they're competing with for the top 4. 11 points, which means the maximum that Rahane's team can go to is 15. But with GT, RCB already on 16. Punjab need to win just 1 of 3 games to go past the 16-point mark. MI need to win 1 of 2 games to get to 16. So this is hard work. There's Delhi Capitals there as well. So they need an enormous amount of luck going their way if they are indeed to make a backdoor entry. CSK, well, that sets things up nicely. CSK RR, 12 games, 3 wins, 9 losses, 6 points. They do
could
not
go up
above
Hyderabad, finish 7th.
Yeah. In fact, SRH play KKR on Saturday before CSK and RR kick off on Monday. So we will focus on that side of the table as well as the weekend goes on. Well, brilliant. That is that.
Hyderabad for that clash.
You're going to Hyderabad.
I just realized.
You know, I have a feeling you're going to get the 300 runs that we SRH predicted. Because both these teams are just going to be so angry and frustrated.
Bowling this, KKR's bowled really good.
Okay, on that note, Abhinav Mukund, one more day and it's a good one tomorrow. PBKSDC, look forward to your company. Then you'll be reunited with the legend himself. Tom Moody will be back. Cracking resumption, Tom. It's like you never left.
It's been wonderful being here.
Matt, I can't think of anything nice to say. I'll just see you tomorrow. But let's go watch some football. And we'll see you then. Do wish us luck. Arsenal in the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Go well.
Yeah. You'll see how the game goes, the one at night, depending on the mood that Matt and me have tomorrow for PBKSDC. Build up just before the toss. All-important game. Effective knockout, you'd think, for DC with where that points table stands. So build up will be on Nexa Presents, ESPN Weekend for Timeout. Good night.
Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet